This one's fishy. I don't care what anybody tries to tell you. Jacob Eason, he had the talent, and he definitely had the size. He also had a good head on his shoulders, so I don't know, man. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think happened? October 1st, 2016, a five-star quarterback for the Georgia Bulldogs is about to make one of the greatest passes you ever see. The pass itself was awesome, but it's more so the timing of it. Georgia was trailing by 4 with 19 seconds to go with the ball on Tennessee's 47-yard line. If you're a Georgia Bulldog fan, you remember this throw, more importantly this game, for a good reason and a bad reason.
Steps up, looks deep, goes down the left side. He's got a man open.
The good reason is for this throw I just showed you right here. The bad reason is they still wind up losing this game to Tennessee on a last-second Hail Mary by Josh Dobbs.
Touchdown!
Georgia losing this game was besides the point. It really seemed like they found their quarterback of the future. This young man wasn't just a five-star recruit. He had an overall scout grade of a 99 on 24/7 Sports. To go on top of that, he was ranked in the top 5 of overall players, not his position, but overall. And with him doing what he did in his freshman year at Georgia, the hype was through the roof. You got a young quarterback who throws a beautiful pass, and oh yeah, I forgot to mention, he's 6'6", 225 pounds. The perfect and ideal build of an NFL quarterback. As quick as he rose to the top, though, he fell even faster. And when I say he fell, I'm more so of saying he disappeared because nobody knew, and people to this day still don't even know what happened to this guy. I mean, seriously, I'm asking you a genuine question. How does a 6'6", roughly 225-pound quarterback that is starting for Georgia as a true freshman vanish just like that? There's many questions people have been asking about this guy even till this day. But however, it all goes back to the one, and I mean the one big question we're going to try to get to the bottom of in today's video. What really happened to Jacob Eason? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope all of you having a great day. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. And I want to drop by real briefly at the beginning of this video to say major shout out to Bama_prods for requesting this video. As you all know, your boy Matt is a fan of the people and I want to give the people what they want. It's as simple as that. So if you have any recommendations, requests, suggestions for videos like this, leave it down below in the comments. Not going to hold your time too much longer. You know the intro. Strap in, buckle up, get you a snack, get you a popcorn, get your favorite meal you like to eat when you watch a video, because trust me, I do the same thing. But alright, Matt, blah, 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 shut the crap up, now to further ado. Let's get into it. Man, oh man, we got good old Jacob Eason. And come on, man. You already know, to get into his story, we got to throw it all the way back to where things started. Mr. Jacob Eason grew up in Lake Stevens, Washington, and that's where he plays high school football at. In his sophomore season of high school, he had nearly 3,000 passing yards with 23 touchdowns to only 8 interceptions. Not too bad. Fast forward time into his junior season, he had, right at 3,000 passing yards again, 32 touchdowns to only 3 INTs. And last but not least, as a senior, he had over 3,500 passing yards with 43 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions. Not too bad if I gotta say so myself. As most of y'all know, I like to skim past these high school days because, relatively boring, you already know it, they dominated the competition. When it's all said and done, he wasn't just regarded as one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, he was regarded as one of the best overall players in the nation. I don't gotta hype him up, you see it right here for yourself. 5-star recruit and 99 overall scout grade. Doesn't get any better than that. Goes without being said, every school in the nation wanted him, but to make a long story short, he decided to go with the Georgia Bulldogs. This decision paid off fast, and I mean really fast, because he wound up starting as a true freshman. To start the 2016 season, he came in the game, didn't start this game, but he came into the game against North Carolina. He helped lead Georgia to victory, and ever since that point on, he didn't look back. Georgia did not have a very good season in 2016. They wound up going 8-5, but here's the kicker. They could have went 11-2. Here's what I'm talking about. They should have beat Tennessee. They gave up a last-second Hail Mary. If you know, you know. They lost to Vanderbilt by 1 point, and they also lost to Georgia Tech by 1 point. 3 games right there, they easily, and I mean easily, should have won. But regardless, it doesn't matter if you lose by 1 point or 100, it's still a loss. They went 8-5. Was Jacob Eason phenomenal this year? Absolutely not. But here's the key, and I can't emphasize this enough. He was a true freshman quarterback. This was a learning season. In his freshman campaign, the 2016 season, he completed 55% of his passes. Not very good. Had 2,400 passing yards with 16 touchdowns to 8 INTs. But nobody really cared that his numbers weren't too great. They were just excited for the future because it looked like Georgia found their quarterback for at least the next 2 years. Or that's what they thought. Fast forward time into the season opener of 2016, Jacob Eason, starting quarterback, they thought was going to be a starter for this year, bare minimum. He winds up getting hurt. Georgia was playing Appalachian State that day, and guess who was the backup quarterback who came in to lead Georgia to victory? Jake Fromm. Speaking of Jake Fromm, we need to make a video on him. What happened to that guy? I digress. Jake Fromm comes into relief and plays pretty good. But the biggest storyline of that game was most definitely Jacob Eason. He got hurt. This injury that Jacob Eason suffered in the Appalachian State game, it was a knee injury. Here's where things get interesting. It was quite obvious that Eason, he was going to be on the sideline for bare minimum the next couple of games. So Georgia fans and really the Georgia coaching staff are freaking out and going, okay, let's just hope and pray that Jake Fromm can get us through these next couple of games without doing something disastrous. Remember, we didn't know who Jake Fromm was, and we didn't know how good he was eventually going to become. We just knew he was the new young buck, and he was the new young freshman quarterback. Well, come to find out, Jake Fromm, he wasn't too shabby, and you look up, and Georgia, they're doing great. Outside of the Notre Dame game, they won by 1 point 2019. They weren't even playing in close games. They were quite literally blowing out every single team. And while Georgia's dominating all these teams and having a fantastic season, guess who's coming back from injury? Jacob Eason. So now Kirby Smart and the coaching staff, they're put in a tough position. And ironically enough, later on, we saw the same situation happen with JT Daniels and Stetson Bennett. This Georgia team is rolling under the new quarterback, Jake Fromm. So do we bench him for what was the original starter in Jacob Eason? I'm sure it was not an easy decision, but Kirby Smart, he wound up sticking with Jake Fromm, even though Jacob Eason was ready to play at the end of the season. And if you had asked me, it probably was the right decision just because of how good Georgia was playing with Jake Fromm in there. And Georgia came this close. I'm talking about this close to winning a national championship with Fromm in there. For those of you who don't recall, that is the season in which Alabama won the national championship in overtime on 2nd and 26. And yeah, it's great for Georgia that they were having a good season, but on the flip side of it, it wasn't so great for Jacob Eason. He was supposed to be the starting quarterback. He gets injured, he recovers from an injury, and now he's the backup. That's not an easy thing to deal with, and here's what he had to say about it, and I quote, "I'm there for Jake. He's there for me. When I got hurt, I wasn't going to be selfish. It's about the team, the team, the team. Things happen in life. You just have to accept them, move on, and learn from the situation." And hold on. I got to clap it up to Mr. Jacob Eason. Very mature words. Reminder, at the time, he was only roughly 19 to 20 years old when he said this. That's not an easy thing to deal with, but I'm glad to see he handled it the best way he could. By the way, this clip I'm about to show you is from a podcast that is called Bring the Juice. I'm going to leave a link to their episode down below in the description. Feel free to check it out for yourself.
When I ended up getting hurt, Fromm played, went to the national championship. The next year they brought Justin Fields in, so I wasn't quite sure even if Fromm was going to get the job. I didn't know if we were going to go to so that factored into it. The fact that Fromm had, just took the team to the national championship as a true freshman. He was coming back. Wasn't afraid of competition, but at the same time, I'm like, all right, realistically, there's one guy that's going to play next year.
Right.
I got me, who was the number one guy in 16, Fromm, number one guy in 17, Fields, number one guy in 18. We got 3 number one dudes in the same room. One of us is going to play. What are my best chances of seeing the field?
He's 100% right. I don't think anybody should view it as, oh yeah, he was running away from competition. That had nothing to do with it. It's more so of, okay, where can I play at? Because like he stated, they had number one quarterback Jake Fromm, number one quarterback himself, and number one quarterback, Justin Fields coming in. And it was also quite clear and evident that Jake Fromm was their guy moving forward. So Eason was going to be behind the 8 ball regardless, so yeah, it was a wise decision to leave Georgia. This wasn't controversial to the slightest. He knew where he wanted to go. He went back home to Washington. It just made a ton of sense. He grew up there, he knew a ton of the players that were currently on the team, and it was a recipe for success. Here's the downside of Eason entering the portal and why it was such a big deal at the time. The transfer portal was not invented, so he had to sit a season. He didn't even actually get to play at Washington till the year of 2019. And in that season, Washington, they were okay, not bad, not good, just slightly above average. They finished the season 8-5. And they had a lot of close games. As a matter of fact, every loss was by 10 points or fewer. Lost to Cal by 1, lost to Stanford by 10, lost to Oregon by 4, lost to Utah by 5, and lost to Colorado by 6. And if you had asked me, I thought Eason had a really good season. For example, against a really good team in Oregon that year, he was 23 for 30, had 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 INTs, QBR of 87.5. He had such a good season at Washington, he decided, you know what? I feel like I'm ready, and he forgoed his final year of eligibility and declared for the NFL draft. I'll show you his numbers at Washington before we go any farther. He completed 64% of his passes. That's really good. Had 3,100 passing yards with 23 touchdowns to only 8 interceptions. That's really solid, but it wasn't just his numbers that backed it up. If you turn on the tape, he looked like an NFL quarterback. He was what every GM and scout loved, at least at the time. A pro-style quarterback. Didn't do a lot of running, none of that. He did fall farther in the draft than what I think he anticipated. The Indianapolis Colts selected him in the 4th round with the 122nd overall overall pick. Nothing meaningful ever happened with the Colts, and in 2021, they waived him. In October of 2021, the Seattle Seahawks picked him up, but shortly after, in August of 2022, they waived him. Fast forward in time, the Panthers then signed him to the practice squad, and he never really did anything. He would then sign with the San Francisco 49ers, go back to the Panthers for a second time, and he's in what I label as that endless loophole and cycle. He went through what a lot of guys go through in these story videos we make. When they're on their way out of the NFL, they bounce from practice squad to practice squad to practice squad just like that. And that's what happened. He got picked up by the Giants in 2023, and last but not least, his final pit stop was Green Bay in 2024. As to where it stands today, he is currently a free agent. And I hate to sound like a Debbie Downer, but it's reality. It's all but over. Here's a $1 million question we gotta answer before we end out this video. Why didn't things work out for Jacob Eason at the next level? I've done a lot of digging and research, and the one common thing I've seen everyone say that has an opinion and take on this is he couldn't read a defense. Do I agree with that? Not necessarily, and my reason for that is because I don't know what those people are pointing towards unless it's practice and stuff like that. I also saw some reports that at Washington, he struggled learning the playbook. So maybe that played into it when he got to the next level. I have no idea. But here's what I do know. Something had to happen because this guy couldn't even sniff the field no matter where he went. And that's the reason why I breezed through his NFL career and I didn't tell you about his stats or anything, because he didn't even play. He barely played. He only appeared in a couple of games. It's a mystery, I'll tell you that much. I remember watching this guy in college at Georgia and at Washington both thinking, yep, he's an NFL quarterback. Not saying he was going to win many Super Bowls, but I thought he'd be in the league for like 10 to 12 years. Here's my honest take on it and my 2 cents. I honestly believe him getting hurt at Georgia, it affected his career from then on out. And here's what I'm talking about. Let's say he never gets hurt and he remains a starting quarterback at Georgia for the next couple of years. Well, he is easily going to be a first or second round pick. Him going to Washington, not playing those couple of years with the injury and him sitting out, definitely affected his draft status. Or not draft status, what am I looking for here? What's the correct wordage? Draft value. Like I was saying, if the injury never happens, he stays at Georgia, he's a first, second round pick. Well, more than likely, he's going to get a chance to start a couple of games in the NFL and get in a groove. Well, with him dropping to the 4th round, these teams, they really don't have a lot of skin in the game, so they could care less about him, and that's just the harsh truth and reality. Here's where I'm trying to go at with this. He never really got a legit opportunity, if you got to ask me. And I already know some people's rebuttal to that would be, well, Matt, he didn't earn himself an opportunity, and hey, that's a fair argument. But one thing I've learned is the NFL, it's a tricky business, and a lot of it is right place, right time. This one's fishy. I don't care what anybody tries to tell you. Jacob Eason, he had the talent, and he definitely had the size. He also had a good head on his shoulders, so I don't know, man. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think happened? Or not what happened, but why do you think he failed to have a decent NFL career? Many more things I could say, want it off here. I'm curious. Let me know your thoughts down below. But